Oh, hi. Yeah, you kind of caught me at tea time. Sorry it's been so late getting them up, but I'll be back in a few minutes with some Friday the 13th reviews. Hey there, and I'm back. Uh, I guess it's time for the reviews. Sorry, earlier on today, I went out for supper with to Montana's with my better half. It was kind of a special occasion, so the videos, let's just say they had to be put on hold for a bit. No, it's actually probably after Friday the 13th right now. It's kind of Saturday the 14th, so maybe I should be reviewing those films. No, no, I shouldn't. Uh, we're at parts 5 and 6 right now. Um, part 5 of Friday the 13th was kind of a surprise because, one, 4 was labeled the final chapter. Now, there were hints that there could be a part 5 since Corey Feldman's character was pretty batshit crazy by the end of the film, and it really showed. So when 5 came out and we realized that the Tommy Jarvis character was going to be back in it, a lot of people kind of expected, well, I'm not going to lie, everybody expected Jason. It was Friday the 13th, and even though Jason had been sliced to pieces, well, he slid down a machete with half of his face. So yeah, he was pretty dead. But I guess a lot of film viewers didn't take that little thing into consideration and thought, this is horror, we can just bring it back, even though there hadn't been many supernatural aspects to Jason at all in the series up to that point. There may have been some quiet illusions, but no, Jason was pretty much the wooded backwoods killer that narrowly escaped drowning. The dream sequences and all those things are basically what you think of as feeling pretty crazy after being attacked by a serial killer. So part 5 starts out with with probably the most brutal murder in any of the Friday the 13th movies, and kind of cheesy. We have a kind of a halfway house for kids that have like different mental issues. One's an nymphomaniac, one's got rage issues. Which brings me to the next point. Why in this movie do we take the guy that is obviously the most volatile and has the rage issues and think, what a good idea is? Do you know what would be an awesome idea? Let's give him an axe. That's not going to blow up in our face at all. Never. Well, why would giving a guy with rage issues an axe be anything that could happen wrong? Seriously. So there's a brutal murder, not by Jason, but by this very angry patient at this halfway house. He kills a slightly annoying, but not as unlikable as the guy in Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the wheelchair, that's for sure. With an accident, it is a brutal killing. It is a realistic, brutal killing. Go back and watch it again. You're going to notice that it's very different. It takes you almost out of the style of movie that Friday the 13th had been up to this point. They were definitely trying something different, and it works and it doesn't work. There are aspects of part 5. We get to see an older Tommy Jarvis, now played by John Shepherd, because, well, Corey Feldman was making the Goonies, and the only appearance that he could make in this was shooting a scene in his neighbor's backyard with a garden hose. No, I'm serious. That's what they did. But he was starting to have his star rise, and John Shepherd is definitely a good actor for that type of thing. If you're familiar with his work, you probably saw him in The Equalizer, and very powerful role. But yeah, for what John Shepherd really has to do in this one here, it's pretty much play the character of Tommy as very, what word I'm looking for here, guys? Very tortured. His mom's dead. We're not sure what happened with his sister, but we know that she's not around. We find out that Jason is not only dead, but he's been cremated. And so they're pretty much kind of letting us know early in the film that, hey, it looks like Jason's not going to be back around. Unfortunately, a large part of the audience never picked up on that oh so subtle hint of they cremated the body. Now, I don't mind the film, but there are certain things that kind of seem out of place. The cokehead boyfriend of the waitress, they just don't really seem to look like they would actually be a couple. It doesn't kind of click with me. But the worst offender is we're watching the film, and all of a sudden there's two guys whose car break down, and this is set in like modern times, it isn't like now, but for some reason these two characters have just, I don't know, time warped out of the 50s. Just go back and watch these guys and see how they really don't fit in with this aspect of the movie at all. They're like in a different time zone generation altogether. It's like another movie was spliced in there just to add in some kills. But you know, you could have done that and kept them more modernized. What I do like about this film, though, is there are some cool kills in this one here. There's a throwback to the mystery aspect of Friday the 13th. Actually, it's a better mystery aspect than the original Friday the 13th, because the original Friday the 13th didn't play fair. This one does play fair. And if you know it's a mystery thing going in, you might be able to figure it out pretty easily if you just watch the screen. But if you don't, like a lot of people that bitched that Jason wasn't Jason. No, I'm not kidding. They couldn't figure out that this wasn't Jason. I mean, sure, we get hallucinations of the actual Jason, and you can tell when that the hallucinations are there, because on the hockey mask there's red. When it's the actual killer, hockey mask is blue. It's a subtle way to let us know when we're actually seeing the killer and when it's kind of in Tommy Jarvis's imagination. That being said, overall I enjoyed the film. This one was definitely more violent than the rest. It was definitely had a lot more nudity, way more nudity, and that was probably because the guy that did it, some people talk about the fact that he may have done some softer hardcore films as well, but and then they pretty much bitch about the movie and call him a hack. Now, those people usually don't realize that this is a guy that directed Savage Streets with Linda Blair, and that's a damn good movie. So, that argument goes out the window. Sorry, guys. 5 actually works on many levels, and it should have been followed up on, because what we're going to come up now is the most controversial thing I'm going to say. And I'm a fan. Part 6. Obviously, the killer has been unmasked in Part 5. We realize that it's not Jason at all. It's not Tommy, like we thought it was going to be, but it is actually, spoiler alert, Roy, the ambulance driver, because if you watch the scene where he actually looks at the body, there's a pretty long, lingering shot at Roy's angry eyes. Now, we see Tommy Jarvis presumably go insane at the end of the 5th movie, so it's all set up. After all, Part 5 is a new beginning. Jarvis is ready, he can be the killer. Here's a guy that works with masks, he knows horror movies, he's really smart. It's setting up to make a pretty formidable killer in Part 6. And then it's thrown out the window. They've decided to listen to the people that bitched about Jason not being in the movie, even though it kind of made sense. And brought Jason back. Now, Jason is brought back the way that Tom McLoughlin agreed to make the film. On the, that he could make it his way. And let's face it, Part 6 is probably hands down the most commercial film in the series. It has a lot of humor, it is very tongue-in-cheek, and it is pretty self-referential. There are aspects of it that I like a lot. Many aspects. Actually, it's a very good film. There's a couple things that I don't like that most people will like. I did not like Tommy Jarvis. Corey Feldman's character, kid-like character, is kind of losing it at the end to Johnny Shepard's version of Tommy Jarvis, as he's struggling to maintain sanity and it's something that he's winning, to Tommy Jarvis in this one, who pretty much looks like a frat boy and yes, I know it's the guy from Return of the Living Dead. And yes, I know he's much better in Return of the Living Dead. I just didn't buy him as Tommy. He did not seem like the same character that we'd seen played by Corey Feldman and John Shepard. I did love this movie, and it's always one of my favorites to go back to. There's a lot of great scenes, quotable lines, and after all, it has the Alice Cooper soundtrack, which is a plus right there. Man Behind the Mask, Teenage Frankenstein, Thriller My Gorilla, great songs. The Constrictor soundtrack album, by the way, is what you want to get if you want the soundtrack to Friday the 13th Part 6. Now, this is the start of Zombie Jason. For me, I liked the original movies. I found them scarier. I thought there was more atmosphere, and I thought they just did it a little bit better. These here are more palpable for a mainstream audience. This is not the same Jason that we've seen from before. And, well, before I say more, I'm going to go over my limits, so let's stop here and I'll continue it into the next video. Now, let's finish up because I'm going with the next one. So we pretty much get a Frankenstein analogy in Part 6. It's done very much for laughs and humor. There's a lot of really cool sequences in it, and it's really good. And I think if you want to show a Friday the 13th movie to a child, this is probably the one. It's very silly. It's got some humor that we're going to see more in the series, and not always in a good way. C.J. Graham does make a great Jason, and I gotta say, I love the movement style that he used within the film. The film is very well done, it's very well written, but it's not a really great Friday the 13th movie. But is it a good horror movie? Yes, it's a good, fun horror movie. It's just not the slasher movies that we've been seeing before. And a lot of the, by making Jason kind of the butt of the jokes and at times, and changing the name to Force Green just for some silly humor. We're kind of getting away from what Friday the 13th was, and this pretty much, although it's still a good movie, is coming down to the beginning of the end for Friday the 13th. And we're going to get into that a little bit more in the next video. Right now I got to finish up my tea because, it's getting cold, and it's definitely time for tea.